Ooh, you want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim?
Cross your eyes and scream, man. Scream for your life.
Welcome, Scream Queens, Kings, and Things. Whether you are screaming at movies or the real life stuff, I'm your host, Jenica Olin. This is my 40th episode. My theme of the month is Authentic August Horrors, with 4 weeks of horror movies based on true crime cases. It doesn't get more authentic than the Australian true crime case turned into one of the most disturbing films I've ever watched. I seriously turned it off at least twice and then went to finish it. Not because it's the most bloody thing I've ever seen, but because this is real life. I know the case and the things they show happened. They show the victims and they show the decay. Spoiler alert, I've made it my job to spoil the shit out of this movie. If you still want to watch it after this, it's available on Tubi and AMC Plus to be streamed. Watch with caution. Today, I'll be covering the 2001 movie Snowtown, directed by Justin Kurzel, written by Sean Grant, Justin Kurzel, and Debbie Marshall, starring Lucas Pittaway, Daniel Henshaw, and Lois Harris. Estimated budget was $2 million, and the estimated gross was $1,349,000. So while this movie was really well made, it's a hard one to watch. So I can see why it didn't make its money back. But it's a shame because it is a really well done movie. The tagline, based on the shocking true story. Some quick trivia about this film. There was a subplot based on actual events, which reveal Robert and Barry as lovers in the past. It was cut, but it can be found on the DVD deleted scenes. I do mention in my discussion that Robert and Barry were in a relationship before events that are shown in the movie. Daniel Henshaw, who plays John, lived in the Snowtown area for 6 weeks in a hotel and got to know the locals to help develop his character. The number Jamie dials on the phone is 000, also known as 000, and it is the primary emergency number in Australia. The filmmakers had access to a house that was used as a main location for only a week. The film ends with David becoming the latest victim of John and Robert after being lured by Jamie into the Snowtown warehouse. Dave Johnson, Jamie's stepbrother, is believed to be the only victim killed in Snowtown, while the rest of the murders took place in different locations. So to save time, because this ended up being a very long episode and it took me a lot longer to edit, I'm going to skip the synopsis because we go beat by beat in my guest section, and it's just not one that you really want to sit in for too long. So I'm just going to skip the whole synopsis part for this one. I'll be back to having a synopsis next week.
Australia's fascination with true crime on the big screen continues with the new movie Snowtown.
It's the story of the 11 murders committed by John Bunting and his gang in South Australia in the 1990s.
It's Australia's worst serial killing. The mere mention of Snowtown conjures up macabre memories of the bodies in the barrels found in the tiny South Australian town in 1999.
Now it's time to talk horror, and my guest today is Sean Watson. He's playing the killer in an upcoming indie horror film, Night Shift. So, Sean, where can people find you, and how are things going with the movie?
So, Janica, they can find me. I'm usually on Instagram most of the time at Georgias_Papa. You can hit me up, or they can hit you up with my profile page. The movie I'm in is, like you said, it was called Night Shift. It's actually based off of one of Puppet Combo's video games. What it is Puppet Combo's like this horror video game universe, and the director and the creator of these games, he decided to he wanted to go into directing and making his own movie off his characters in his video game. So he started off with Night Shift. Not a lot I can say about it right now because they're still in post-production. They're still working on some things. But if you look at the IMDb, they have me as the Night Shift abductor right now. So I was hoping by now there'd be a trailer, but they're working really hard to try to get that done. They're looking at maybe a theatrical release in October, but that may get pushed back. So I don't know much about it right now, but I do know it's horror. It's based in the 80s, and it's an old style slasher. And if you love like old time horror movies, I believe the fans will love this kind of a horror movie. So
Yeah, no, I love it. And I see you're wearing the shirt. You're definitely repping.
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
So can I ask you, so there are puppets involved?
No, Puppet Combo. So I don't know the whole backstory of where Puppet Combo came from. It's what they call the Puppet Combo universe. It's basically this universe, and it has different slasher games and different like killers and different stuff. It's almost like how like the old Doom video games were. It's first person, kind of boxy, kind of old school. And it's very good. If you get a chance, check them out. They're at Puppet Combo on Instagram, and they'll have a big old yellow logo. But like a lot of their games are just great. If you're a horror fan, and they have such a huge following worldwide, I didn't know that until I really got involved with the project. And I've loved like the video games. I love everything about it. So hopefully the fans of the games will enjoy the movie when it comes out, and hopefully it brings more people, more horror fans into the video game system, and just enjoy it. It's just such good writing.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Is this your first role ever, like as playing like a villain or like a serial killer?
So it's my first like major role. It is playing one of the killers in this movie. I did play a bad guy because of my look. I often get casted as like usually background acting or stand-in, and I've been in a horror TV show, The Bondsmith, when Kevin Smith as an extra. Got to see some really cool stuff being a stand-in. So you got to work with the actors as they get the camera set up around you and stuff. For those that know what stand-in is, that's basically what you do. Your second unit, you come in, and got to see some really cool things. Got to see Kevin Bacon get shot in the back and his throat slit, which was really cool. Got to see a monster truck tire blow out and cut people in half and turn into demons. That you can find on The Bondsman season 1. I don't think they got renewed for a second season, which sucks because it was such a good show. But I also played a bad guy in a recent movie that just came out, The Naked Gun. If you watch The Naked Gun, you'll see me clearly get my boobies grabbed by Liam Neeson, big time. He'll just go up there and grab me, and he beats me up in the movie, which wasn't scripted, but the cast and crew loved it so much they kept it in the movie. And then I played a small itty bitty part. You can catch me in the trailer of Weapons, the new horror movie that came out. And just being on that, just the small part that I did, it was such a great like experience being on there, and then seeing the school with all the flowers and the kids missing. It was really eerie, but it was fun to be a part of it and watch Josh Brolin work and everything. It was just fun. I enjoyed it. So I have a little bit for it, but yes, Night Shift is my first big, and hopefully many more to come. My first big role as a bad guy in it. So hopefully there'll be more to come.
That's awesome. So you're, like, this is a very active year for you then. I'm excited to see Night Shift when it comes out. I'll be looking out for you in those other things as well.
Most of the stuff will be on my Instagram page. The most recent updates they will have on the Night Shift movie will be posted on Puppet Combo. They'll post it first and foremost, and hopefully they'll start making rounds to where some of the actors can interact with some of the conventions and spread the word. So all that's to be determined, but I will have up-to-date information on my Instagram page for all that stuff, and try to answer whatever questions I can. So
yeah. So Night Shift sounds like a super fun movie. Nothing like what we're talking about today.
No,
Snowtown is not fun. It's extremely fucked up.
It's really scary on how real it is, the fact that this actually happened, and the movie doesn't even really dive into some of the atrocities that they did to some of these people and stuff, and it's scary. So yeah, it's very much a real life horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, this is a true crime case. It's I think it's Bodies and Barrels, Bodies and Barrels is what they called it, was the worst serial killer they've ever had in Australia. And I don't know about you, but I live in Florida. I've grown up in Florida, and you hear sometimes people compare Florida and Australia to each other. I really there are so many things about this movie where I was like, well, I've seen that before. I've seen those things.
Yeah.
Australia, Florida is definitely like they are one and the same, I think.
Yeah, I think like with dangerous animals like snakes and alligators and stuff. So I used to live in Florida myself, and
Yeah.
it's almost like when I watched the movie, like the way they did the neighborhood, it's like you know a neighborhood like that. Like you've been down a street that looks just like that neighborhood. And
Yeah.
it's just and reading up on some of the stuff, this happened in a very poor neighborhood where obviously a lot of people turn a blind eye or just scared to.
I understand the outrage of the community when it came to seeing people not really being being released quickly. We'll get more into that, but okay. So I have like a little thing. So this movie, it's bleak, it's disturbing,
Mhm.
it's true crime. It happened in the 1990s, and the film's themes are layered and often implicit, reflecting not just the crimes themselves, but the social and
Yeah.
psychological environment that enabled them. So we'll be getting a lot into that stuff. There's a lot to cover. It doesn't just tell a story, though, through plot and dialogue. Like the cinematography in this, like the pacing, the absence of sound, or the sounds that are included are so purposeful, and they're designed to make you feel the same suffocating dread and moral corrosion as Jamie. Because, so this movie is all from the perspective of Jamie. And
Yeah.
Jamie is a very complicated character
Hmm.
because he is complicit with everything that's happening, but he's a victim as well. And it's really hard not to feel bad for him in this movie.
Yeah, and I think growing up, and he obviously didn't have a father figure. So when Bunton, right, that was his last name, right, Bunton, comes into the picture, that's kind of like a father figure for Jamie. So he kind of, and I tell you, when you watch the movie, the guy just makes me uncomfortable watching. Like if I was in that position, because you just don't know what he's capable of. And like you said, Jamie starts out as a victim, and then he kind of gets groomed into being a part of this group where they're killing, these pedophiles or supposed pedophiles. And it's sad because what do you do? I mean, he was, his parts, especially when his half brother was raping him, that was hard to watch. Like you're watching that and you're like, oh my gosh. And and he's just, you feel bad for the guy, and you kind of understand that he doesn't, it's almost like he has nowhere to go. And I think a lot of victims really kind of feel that way too, because there's shame in it. There's, people, whether or not you believe them or not. So it's, yeah, I mean, I think his character is very relatable to a lot of people, maybe even to a point where some of these people go off and do some of these violent acts in real life too, because of some trauma they experienced younger. So, it's just scary.
Yeah, we have like this cycle of repeated trauma, acting out trauma and things like that. And with Jamie, we see he's really disassociated. He deals with a lot of mental health issues as well. In this, like they briefly touch on it, but he does have schizophrenia. He's schizophrenic. I will be going over like some of the things that they're missing in the movie that are, parts of the crime that are not mentioned, or things that are kind of emblemished. I think that's the word.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so let's get into the corruption of innocence, because that's really where this all starts. That's the root of this case.
Yeah.
And where John Bunting was able to, I think John Bunting 100% was a psychopath, no matter what.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was going to find a reason to kill people, no matter what. This was just a really easy way for him to get a community to rally around him. It was an easy way for him to manipulate. He ended up just killing people that he didn't like.
Yeah. And you could see at one point where Jamie picked up the phone and was going to call the police. And then, he kind of backed down from that, and probably just scared, because think about it. If you call the police and you don't have anything to prove, or he finds out you call the police and you know what he's capable of, like that's a scary situation. It's a sad thing, because he went to jail for, the crimes he helped John commit. But like at the same time, it was, just the innocence taken away. And it sucks because, being in an impoverished, is that how you say, impoverished community,
Impoverished, yeah.
Yeah, so
Impoverished.
he has nowhere to go, or he probably felt like there was nowhere to go. What do you do? Like, I mean, it's easy for like you or I to say, hey, let's just call the police. But when you're in that situation, when you're actually in that situation, and a guy sitting next to you has killed and tortured people, like, what do you do? It's easy to judge that from the confines of our couch and judging people. And I think we judge a lot of people just sitting back,
Yeah.
but not being in that situation. And I couldn't imagine him being in that situation, or even the people around him, because John was kind of almost like a cult leader, where you followed him, and if you didn't follow him, then you end up in a barrel. And I don't know
Yeah.
about you, that's not where I wanted to be. You either kill or be killed, and that's I mean, what do you do in that situation, right?
In this case, we're in Jamie's perspective. It's from his point of view. He's a child. He's 16 years old when all of this starts. He has no control, and he hasn't had any control for his entire life. And they only show from the point of, well, okay, let's get into it. So the film opens with the home's rundown. His mom, Elizabeth, she's neglectful and she's not stable. You don't really see her at work. She sleeps a lot.
Yeah.
Like that. She's also very withdrawn herself. There's trash littering the yard. There are couches in the backyard. Wallpaper is peeling off the walls. It is clear that they are impoverished. The poor community. We get Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is our first villain in the movie that we see taking advantage of these boys.
Yeah.
And he's shown at first, he's feeding them. He's made them spaghetti. He's getting them comfortable. He's actually the mom's boyfriend, Elizabeth. It's her boyfriend. And she asked him to take care of them when she says she's going to go visit her ex or something. But then it shows her and she's like gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick that up?
I did actually. It's it just shows you that these kids, just from the start, they never had a chance. Even with a parent who's not abused, she wasn't providing for them.
It was just very clear from the beginning. So we get Jeffrey, this really horrible guy, and he's photographing the boys, making them pose.
Mm-hmm.
He's also, at the end of it, he's shown smoking a cigarette and drinking what I assume is coffee, and he's like naked in the dining room. And his actions are unsettling and very invasive. We don't know what actually did or didn't happen because it's left very ambiguous.
Mm-hmm. I think the one good thing about that movie, the one thing I love about it, is the absence of seeing the actual atrocity happen, because you don't know. I mean, you leave it up to your imagination. It's like reading a book. You can read a book and you have a different vision of what you might have reading the same book. It's those events that happen in real life are probably just too gruesome to really kind of put into the picture. You can guess what happens. The main thing about the movie was you don't see a lot of the sexual. The one that they did show about the Hapro, that was messed up. That was enough for me, and I don't know if I could have seen some other things.
Yeah, no.
And it just breaks your heart, because this is more terrible things have happened, and these boys have been abused from get-go, and it's just it's sad. It breaks your heart. I mean, I don't need to see it to know that, which is good, because certain things you see in movies, I'm like, man, I wish I never saw that part of it, but it leaves your imagination. I don't know if that's worse or better, that they don't show it,
I mean, I definitely don't want to see it. So
yeah.
I think what's the most striking thing to me about this scene is Jamie and his brothers appear uncomfortable and withdrawn.
Like they're kind of used to it or something. Like it's happened quite a bit. Yeah.
It's like something they've endured before.
Mm-hmm.
And this moment establishes that the boys are already living in an unsafe environment long before John Bunting enters the picture.
Yeah.
In real life, I was able to find that Jeffrey Payne is a real person who was arrested in March 1994 after abusing Jamie and his brothers. According to the court and psychiatric records, he made bail quickly, like they show in the movie, resumes taunting and photographing the boys, which they don't show that. They don't show that it continues. but it did continue. And a psychiatrist described his behavior as compulsive and deeply ingrained. This abuse was a key part of Jamie's traumatic early life. Basically, Jamie was also abused by other adults in the community that he was exposed to. Jeffrey was real, but everything about him wasn't technically real. It was kind of a composite of two different people in the community that had abused the boys.
Yeah. And that's sad because, like, to know that it happened more than once, and it was like kind of, like you said, they were very out of it. The fact that this kept happening to them, and like you said, in real life, when Jeffrey was arrested, he made it back out and did it again, and so that tells you automatically, like, you can call the police and they get arrested, but they'll be back out, and it's like the justice system failed those boys probably time and time again, more than what we know. And it sucks because at what point do what do you do, And so I couldn't imagine being in a situation like that where you're consistently and constantly molested by people around you, and there's no help, there's no hope, not even your mother. That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's really sad. My next note, so the next scene we get Barry Lane, and that's where my notes were. They kind of got mixed up.
Yeah.
So Barry is our gay trans character.
Yep.
It's like trans-coded. We don't know for sure if he's or she's actually trans, or if they're just, I don't know. You don't know for sure. But we can call her Barry, our trans character. And Barry goes to warn Elizabeth about Bunting because I guess she started getting involved with Bunting, and Barry heard about this, and Barry tells her that he's not who you think he is. Just be careful, basically.
Yeah. And we know how that turned out.
Yeah. Bunting was a real person. They really were a police informant at one point. So that's why, like, Bunting knows all the business. Like, Bunting is a sad character because I feel like Bunting comes from a place of trying to help, like really seeing injustice and trying to help, but is looking for vigilante justice.
No, I think the idea of getting that revenge on people doing these things, and involving somebody who can take care of that, and then Barry, I think at some point they probably realized they got in over their head with Bunting and how he really was. It wasn't as simple. Yeah. Hey, go beat him up or, something like that. I mean, they, like some of the torturing, you read about what they did to some of these people was just horrendous. I mean, it's it's terrible. And I don't think Barry knew to that that it was going to get to that extent. And it's kind of like once you're in it then, because like with Jamie, you get to that point where you get lulled into his little circle, and then it's now what he's capable of, and it's like, wow, I can't get out now, and that's a scary part about people like that. Grooming. I've seen grooming happen in real life. I've had friends try to groom other people. I've seen that in person, so it's like when you see that, it's obvious. If you take a step back and you realize that. So most of the people that are getting groomed, especially like Jamie and Barry and all them, they probably didn't realize they were being groomed because they were just, I guess wanting to feel part of something, feel safe, feel like someone's going to stand up for them. And that's what John offered them until they realized, oh, wait a minute, this isn't what I was talking about. And now you're in though.
And in Barry's situation, Barry ends up being murdered. And Barry is, Barry was basically a threat. Barry was seen as an other. They were killing anyone that they saw as undesirable. The weird thing is, like, Barry was using the F word for gay people. That F word.
Yeah.
But Barry's gay.
Yep.
And so it's like this self-hating thing as well. And there's a false narrative here that Bunting tries to weave with the gay community and being a child predator, which is not true.
Yeah.
At all. That's a completely false narrative. Whenever you have these kinds of cases where a child is being abused, these people will abuse like anyone. They'll abuse a little boy, a little girl. It's not about sexual identity, it's about control.
Yeah.
And so it's just like this really, it's a false equivalence between those things, but they don't make that distinction. They don't know enough to make that distinction and know that child predators are child predators. They're not
Yeah.
gay, they're not straight, they're predators.
Yeah, yeah, and most of them could care less if they're a boy or girl, you know. Yeah, it's sad. It's this movie's just hard to watch because it happens all the time. It happens down the street. You probably know somebody that it happened to, and you may not know that. I think our first thoughts are like, yeah, kill them. You know, they molested a kid or something like that, and this is why, like, I picked this movie because to kind of go over because it's such a very real thing and it happens right next door to us and you just don't know. What do you hear about most of the people that sexually molest people? Oh, I didn't know he did that. You know, he was always a great guy. You know, you never look at somebody and say, hey, that's a child molester, or, you know, he molested, a kid or something. You never know those kind of things when you look at somebody. That's 99% of the time when people find out someone did something. It's like, hey, look, this happened. And one of the things that kind of brought me, like, that kind of touched really real with me was the grooming part I said earlier. I had a best friend in high school that me and she was like a sister to me, and her daughter was a younger daughter. She would stay and hang out, her and her brother and stuff. And one of my buddies was over there, and come to find out, I guess he was grooming her and made inappropriate comments to her. So we ended up confronting him. And he he was like, no, she just misunderstood, da 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 da. And we were like, okay, well, we went back, we talked to her about it. You know, she's a teenager, and she's like, no, that's not what happened. So we went back and confronted him. And then when you start looking back at his behavior, the way that he used to hit on my wife, you know, when he was married, the way he would make statements to other women, you know, that's, you know, he was on the sheriff's department, actually. He got a job in the sheriff's department, and
Oh, no.
they had to let him go because his wife got busted in a prostitute sting. So, like, you know, you see that grooming in person, and that was one of my best friends. I've known him since high school. I don't have anything to do with him now.
Just like you having experience with people like this, I've had a lot of experiences with these kinds of people, especially with my child. Never do I let a stranger around my kid. Like,
I don't either. I think it's funny because I realized when I became a dad, like, it's a whole different kind of worrying in life. And I do worry about that. Like, I always constantly worry. You know, she just started going to kindergarten. So, like, you know, you get her on the bus, you know, she's got two, female teachers, which is good. But, you know, you always have in the back of your mind, like, you just don't know. Luckily, my daughter's a snitch. She'll tell on you in a heartbeat about something. So that's good. But you know, you just never know. That the best you can do is just really try to, do what you can to make sure that they're safe. And it's, it's hard. And, my sister was never, my sister was always, she was on drugs and no telling like what kind of people she allowed around her kids. She had 3 kids with 2 different dads, and luckily the dads took them. We actually tried to take my sister in last year to get off drugs and stuff. And we ended up regretting that because she was doing meth. We found a meth needle in the yard. We have our daughter right here, and we had to kick her out, and we have nothing to do with her. And it as a parent, you feel let down. As a brother, you feel stupid for knowing that she's done this to many people, and you try to help out, and it just, but in the end, our daughter comes first, and we decided to kick her out before something were to happen, and it's hard, but it's being a parent first and foremost, and then anything else comes secondary. So
yeah, actually, that kind of goes along with some of the people that they target. Like, some of them were just drug dealers or drug addicts and seen as less desirable, and giving off a list of people that should be targeted. And one, she's like, oh, it's this one person who goes to like the methadone moms is what I'm going to call Barry a she at this point. So Barry is now a she because
I'm right there with
sure
you.
She was transgender, just never got the chance to actually get there. So she gave a name of someone who would hang around these methadone moms And these methadone moms were neglectful of their children. And so they were vulnerable. And that hit at home for me because so my dad was a drug dealer in jail most of my life, drug addict. He takes methadone still to this day. He was a heroin addict, did crack, all kinds of things. So like I was around these people. Like watching this movie, I was like, this is fucking Florida. This is like neighborhoods I grew up in. These are people I was exposed to, that you were told, they're fine. They're just like, they have problems or something. But like, I know exactly what you're saying when you're talking about these things, and I relate as well. And it's really fucked up how many people can relate to these situations.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, the smallest things, like I said earlier, with that street, like in the movie, a transgender person, or, someone who's into drugs, or, getting, in trouble going to jail. So, this movie, like, you can't watch this movie and not say, hey, I relate to some part of this movie. Some people, obviously, the more horrendous stuff that's happened to it, but it's sad because, like, I think everybody in this world has seen or been a part of something like that, and it shouldn't be like that. Not everybody turns out that way, but it's PTSD. I've learned when I was in the military, I got PTSD, and it's like, PTSD is not a combat related thing. It's a severe trauma that you've experienced, and a lot of people don't realize they have it or how to deal with it. And unfortunately, some people make the wrong choices or do the wrong things, and it just makes things worse.
Yeah. The next kind of scene in the movie is Jamie, brother abuses him. Troy's the brother's name. That scene is really hard to watch, as you had said. You can really feel like the helplessness and like just the powerlessness that Jamie has. And that's like a snippet of what this poor kid has had to endure his entire life.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine, like, just like you said, the small snippet?
Troy was also young. He was older. They don't say, like, I think he was a young adult. He was the half brother.
Yeah.
And they don't really get into his backstory, but I'm pretty sure he was abused as well.
That's what I kind of picked up. He learned it from someone else, and now he wants to be in control, and he does that to his half brother. Completely think that's exactly what happened. I came to that same conclusion too. So
what I was able to find is, I guess that had been going on for a long time, like since they were little.
Yeah.
And it's something where all the boys had been abused. And then I don't know all the, I'm not going to try to even find the details. I don't really care to know, but it's just, there is definitely something where Troy was abused, then he started abusing Jamie, and Jamie was also, I think, abused by the same people that abused him. And it's just like this cycle of abuse that kept going on, and these kids that were ignored, and no one ever tried to get them help.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, like they had no out, like there was no one to really talk to, because they talked to their mom. Their mom obviously was part of the problem. They couldn't talk to John because, well, he would go kill people, and then you got your siblings doing that to you. I mean, what do you do? Such a very depressing and such a bad state.
All these things had happened before John stepped in. So John stepping in, suddenly he looked like a savior. Okay. In the movie, one thing that really was striking to me was how everyone's always gathering around food.
I'd be right there because I love some food now. I might have to send in a meeting for food. I don't know about the other stuff, but I did notice that it was like everybody had like a little like a Friday night meeting, and they would have food and stuff and cooking. Yeah, that was kind of weird. I noticed that too. It wasn't like someplace secret. It was just like people hanging out, getting ready to have board games or something to play.
Yeah, well, there were those meetings, but also the boys. When every time, like before abuse happened or after abuse happened, we're going to sit down and we're going to eat, and I'm going to feed you, and I'm going to, give you, it was like this false sense of security.
Yeah.
John Bunting used food as like a tool to reinforce his role as a provider and protector and leader, because that's the person who's going to feed you, right? They're going to take care of you.
Very symbolic.
Yeah. And it actually turns out that there are real life parallels. According to trial accounts, Bunting often hosted barbecues and meals, especially before and after killings. He used these gatherings to foster loyalty and keep everyone feeling part of a mission. So this was just all part of the coercion and, really being like a cult leader when it
Yeah, yeah,
comes to this kind of stuff, right? Like even
yeah.
cult leaders, they'll like take away food and things like that.
You know what's funny is like anything I've ever been a part of, being in the military, working on a movie set or, just working, you
Yeah.
always look forward to food. So
Yeah.
like, him doing that, it's a hey, I'm gonna, like you said, I'll take care of you. Come on in, because most people they that's a big thing from food, eating food. I'll provide this for you, and it's a sense like he's doing this, and he's not saying I want anything in return, but like because he does this for you, he knows that you're gonna feel like, well, maybe if he asks me something, I need to do something in return. And that's how kind of like it's real subtle, it's real, I'm sure it started out real subtle in real life, and
Yeah.
there wasn't much to it. People kept showing up, and it's kind of like they have a bond in a sense of some of these tragedies with these young kids. And like you said, people look at him as a protector, but then it turned into something much more than that. And that's where being a leader like that, he knew what he was doing, and it's just it's sad that so many people didn't catch on till it was too late to get out.
Yeah, as someone who grew up in poverty as well, food is something that was very scarce for me growing up. Like I lived in like Title I housing and things like that. And I specifically, like vividly remember certain meals people fed me that I was like, oh, this is really good. Like I've never had this before.
Yeah, yeah,
Like just order out pizza, someone delivering pizza
yeah.
and being
And
like,
it's
oh
such
my God.
yeah, it's such a small gesture for someone doing that, but for you, like who's never experienced it or never eaten a full meal, that's like, wow, I can't believe this. This person cares about me to buy me a pizza. He used that as a tool to bring these people together, and he was very, very good at it too.
And I'm pretty sure, just like how I, as a kid, had a lot of scarcity and there was a lot of food insecurity, it's pretty clear that they have food insecurity as well. Going without a lot of the essential things that they need just to survive. So
Yeah.
the fact that he's coming in and really providing these things for him it's significant. It is.
Yeah, when he was killing the kangaroos, I don't.
Oh my God, I hated that
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, well, I didn't like it either, but I don't know if he was cooking the kangaroos or if he was seeing how Jamie would respond to killing something and see if he would be okay with that. And that was part of it too. So I didn't know if they were eating the kangaroo as well, and he was kind of like, "Hey, I'm feeding you, but you got to butcher this animal, and let's see how you do with butchering an animal before you move on to a person." Did you ever catch that? I mean, that's kind of like how I thought he was maybe
I did.
kind of interesting.
It was conditioning, right? He was
Yeah, yeah,
conditioning him to be okay with violence and seeing these
hmm
acts of violence that he
yeah,
had never seen before. And okay, so that specific scene, he uses the kangaroo parts to dump on the neighbor's yard. Yeah, on
that's
his
right, that's
couch.
right. Yeah, I remember that. That was kind of messed up too.
That was so fucked up.
Yeah,
But Jamie, when it gets to that part, Jamie sees someone defending him. This is the first time anyone has stood up for him.
yeah,
His mom has done nothing but act like broken down.
yeah,
She has never taken control. She's never really tried to protect him. She's just crumbled every
yeah,
single time. And so John Bunting is now coming in. He's taking control and he is destroying this animal and tossing it on the guy's couch. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I can't imagine that would feel really fucking good for someone to say, not
yeah,
only, hey, do I believe you, but I'm going to help you. I'm going to do something about
yeah.
this person.
Yeah, that's very, yeah. I mean, like, being a kid, how do you look at that and say, hey, I'm not down with that? It's, his whole life, he's been abused. And here's this guy comes along and he says, you know what? No, that's not going to fly. I'm going to do something about it. I mean, that's very empowering. That's very, I would, if I was in that situation, I would definitely be right next to that guy too. Any one of us could have fallen into that kind of trap that Jamie has fallen into when he met John Bunting, and that abuse stopped. So he looked at that as a, hey, it was a success. This guy came out of nowhere, cared about him, and stood up for him. So why would he not like accept him and trust him?
Yeah, it's a very appealing thing, especially to a kid that has no real power when it comes to
Yeah.
these things. So then we kind of get into these like pre-murder conversations in the movie. They just casually talk about what should happen to these people. Like, what would you do? Like, is it okay that these people are out on the streets right now? He's almost like a motivational speaker in those
Yeah.
moments, very
Yeah.
much a cult leader. Right?
Yeah.
Asking them like, that's not right, right? Like that's fucked up. The
Yeah.
schools aren't doing anything about it. The police aren't doing anything about it. Like, who's going to do something about it? And, it's really easy to get people to agree with you on those kinds of terms. Like, of
Yeah.
course, everyone agrees with that.
And that's just it. He has several people agreeing with him. It's not like he's by himself and everybody's like, dang, I think this guy lost his marbles. So they're like, and like I said, you have Jamie who's like, yeah, he defended me already, so I'm all for it, and I get it. But you have these other adults that are agreeing with him, and so it seems okay. Like, hey, yeah, we're doing something good now. Now we're doing something. This won't happen to somebody else, or this person can't harm this person. So in a sense, you get, a warped sense of, like you said, vigilante justice, the police aren't going to do anything. So it's up to us. And it goes from talking to doing. So I think that's where you talk about it. They were talking about, yeah, they should do something. And when they actually act it out, it's like, oh, okay, we're really doing this. And
most people won't really go that extra step.
No. No, not most people won't.
And, honestly, like if you're caught in the moment and, there are lots of cases where I think there was a case recently where a father walked in on his daughter being raped and he killed the guy, like in the moment, killed the guy and he got off. Like I know this really did happen. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up what the case was, but there are a lot of instances like that where people get off because, it's defending yourself. You're acting in that moment. And I can't say I probably would. I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I could see myself definitely murdering someone if I saw something in a moment. And I will take this out.
No,
But-
I'm right there with you. I think if you catch someone in the moment, I would probably take it too far. But there's a difference when it's an act of passion, like something like that kind of just happens right there and then. You don't really have time to think about it, as opposed to premeditated. I don't know if you remember, there's a guy where his son was raped, and very old video, and he was on the phone when they were walking him through some place, and he comes off the phone and he goes and shoots the guy in the head right there. And I think he got off from it, but it happened on camera. They caught him doing it on camera, but he waited for that guy to come by and he shot him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he killed the kid or if he just raped him, but he was wearing the hat and glasses, and it was obviously premeditated, but I don't think he served any jail time for that. And it's like, that there's a big difference between that and, being premeditated and then just, you catching someone in the act,
It's also for Bunting and a lot of these cases too, or the people that they murdered, they didn't actually have a connection to them.
Yeah.
It's not like they were the victims.
Nah.
They were using the victims as an excuse to murder.
Yeah. It's a whole big thing when you start thinking like that. But
the other lesson is if you're gonna kill a pedophile, make sure you're the victim killing the pedophile. Oh no.
I know, right? Don't be the guy who heard the story. Be the guy who is the story, not the guy who heard the story. Yeah. And and I think in the end, I don't know if I would judge or blame the victim if something like that were to happen, because I've never been violated like that. So I couldn't tell you like how I would feel about that. And in Jamie's case, he was the one who was violated when his half brother was being tortured. You can tell he didn't want that for him.
Yeah.
And he choked him out to try to spare his life, to try to just end it. And
it was a mercy kill.
Obviously he didn't want to be abused, but I don't think he wanted to murder somebody for it either,
No. And I think too, that was his brother.
Yeah.
I think there is something to it. I think he was also abused. He did not want Jamie to be killed.
I think that was very obvious.
He wanted any of that, and he had sympathy for Jamie. He was really fucked up the way that John was killing him too. It was so sadistic. to
and that was the only really scene that you saw where they were really torturing somebody, and then
Yeah.
reading up on like what they actually did to some of these people. I'm
Yeah.
glad they didn't show any of that in the movie, and it was just, I don't know, it was and watching Jamie, like, what could he do? Like, like, it's almost like him and his brother kind of experienced this horrific thing together, so they're connected into that.
Troy chose to abuse others the way that
Do
he
you?
was abused. What I'm saying is that Jamie still had sympathy for him.
Yeah.
Jamie didn't want to really see him hurt. He didn't want to be abused by him, but he still cared for his brother.
Yeah. But do you think the way that Troy was, though, like, after, like, like, they don't go too much into like his whole past, but like he was so used to doing, like, it was being done to him, that maybe him doing it to his brother, he had some kind of control, or something he can control, because he couldn't control what happened to him, but he can control what happened to his brother. And it was kind of like, maybe in his brain it was maybe normal, a little bit normal to kind of do that to his brother.
I think it was normalized, and I think he definitely, something needed to happen to Troy.
Exactly.
That mom needed to fucking be a mom and actually realize what was going on, protect her children.
And she did absolutely nothing. It was just kind of like, she sat into the meetings, and there was no, ensuring that when they were abused, that didn't stop.
I mean, she jumped from boyfriend to boyfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, because Bunting ended up being her boyfriend. And there is even a scene where they're talking about these things at the dining room table with a bunch of people from the neighborhood. And Elizabeth, mom, she's like, I don't want him to be here about me.
Yeah.
And she can't even stick up for him then. Like, she immediately folded. She's like, I really don't want him to be here. But instead of really like getting him out of that room and really doing what she needed to do to protect him in that moment from being re-traumatized, she gives in. Like, John he dominates and she folds. And that's part of the problem with her this entire time.
And that's the story of his life, right? That's Jamie's, constantly just nobody defending him, standing up for him. You feel really bad. Even after he got involved with John and all that other stuff, you feel bad for him. I mean, I don't think he wanted to do, a lot of those things with John. He felt probably compelled and scared.
Yeah, it's really just, all of it is really messed up, and it all made a perfect situation for John Bunting to be able to manipulate and control these boys and that entire family.
Yeah, which is sad, because that entire family just was, I don't know, it's just like that entire family just got wiped out.
So the next scene I kind of wanted to touch on was the dog scene, where Jamie spends the night at John's house. He asks to spend the night. And the whole time that scene was happening, I was like, is he going to abuse him? I was just waiting for it to happen, for another person in his life that he thought was going to be a protector.
Yeah.
Ends up abusing him. And he does end up abusing him. He abuses him in a different way, psychologically. And with like physical presence and like a threatening presence. Because he makes him kill the dog.
My wife would not like that, because she is she would not watch that movie just because of that. And that is rough, because you do that to an animal. What can you do to a person? And that part was rough to watch, because dog's the most faithful animal you can have, right? And for John to get him to do that, that was a fucked up scene. And I'm not gonna lie, I remember when I first watched it, I was like, no, he ain't gonna do it. He's just kind of he's just kind of gearing him up. But when he did, I was like, damn, that's messed. Yeah, that was fucked up scene. That was probably one of the worst scenes. That, and of course his brother that they showed, was probably the two tough scenes to watch in that movie.
When I looked it up, this might make you feel a little better. Not that you had to see it on screen, but he never actually made him kill a dog. That was just put in there to show like the coercive control that he had.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, there was never actually a dog that was killed.
But it's such a tone of the movie, though, which is really disturbing. He's a real life person, but the character that he plays, that he goes to that extent, that just kind of, it's just a different kind of mind fuck that that he's doing with you. So
Okay, I found my note. So there's no actual record of a pet being killed, but it symbolizes the testing, obedience, and moral flexibility before allowing Jamie to participate in human murder. And he does do tests. He does test him in little ways, but that was just like a dramatized way to show it. It was just symbolic, really.
Yeah.
But poor Jamie, he's isolated and manipulated through fear. Jamie's often alone with Bunting in tense, controlled environments. And in real life, Bunting exploited isolation, both physical and emotional, to make victims and accomplices more pliable. This reinforces the power dynamics and dependency, making resistance psychologically more difficult.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's I've said it before, but to be a kid and kind of be in that situation, it's just hopelessness.
Up until this point, I mean, we're really just seeing the psychological conditioning of him, bending him to his will and saying, how far is he willing to go? Is he going to respond to this? And desensitizing him to the violence, to the thought of harming others and things like that.
Yeah.
Just normalizing it, really.
I mean, how do you get out of that? How do you get in a situation like that and just get out of it? I mean, you can't, you're just kind of you're all in now.
So they show Robert a lot too. Robert's his henchman.
Yeah, his second in command kind of guy or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy just wants to kill. He doesn't give a shit. I don't think, does he even have a one line in the movie?
I don't think he did. He was just kind of there because I don't know, he just you could tell he just did whatever. He enjoyed it and he did whatever John told him to. So when you have John and then you have this devout follower, that's this guy's he's a man of few words, obviously, right? He's not talking, but he doesn't hesitate. And in that torture scene, he was right there doing the dirty work with John. And it's he's a man of few words. So
it's just a really weird dynamic. And, he had actually dated Barry. He was partners with Barry at the beginning of the movie. And in real life, he was. But then he decided that wasn't okay to have that lifestyle. So he ended the relationship with Barry. And actually that kind of reminds me of the scene where Barry is at the dining table, kind of giving a list of names of people that should be targeted. And there's this character in the background just has this monologue about war and killing. Do you remember?
I do remember it. That was crazy.
So bizarre.
Yeah. I didn't really. It was kind of out of place, but it was where's this going? I didn't know where it was going when he was talking about that. So it was, but you definitely pick it up when you when you're watching that scene, which was really odd, I guess. Yeah. So I agree, it was kind of odd, but
it goes between the two of them, right? It goes between the area where they're talking about killing these people, and then this guy in the living room on the couch doing his monologue about war. And he was a sniper and all these things. And I think the point of it was to, I think it was creating this parallel between war and then what they're trying to do.
It's kind of saying, we're at war, so it's okay to that you have to kill the enemy because that's what you do in war. You want to eradicate the enemy, and when you start talking about that or you put it in a mindset like that, then it's oh, you know what? You're right. This is war because if we don't do something about it, they're going to do something about it. And so we need to strike first. And I get that. I can understand how someone introducing that into what they're doing and giving them kind of a more of a motivation to do what they're doing to continue doing that. So, yeah.
As I was watching that, I was I was just thinking who the fuck is this for real? And then John says to Barry, where'd you find this guy? And Barry, she says, well, everyone needs someone, John. And so that was her new partner.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
That's a weird group of people. I'm telling you that.
Yeah. So I kind of have a list of the murders and then what was actually shown versus what was excluded from the film. So I wanted to quickly go over these, if that's okay.
I'd love to hear that, most definitely.
Clinton Trent his murder was implied but not depicted. In reality, Bunting's first known murder is in 1992. He was accused of being a pedophile, or the person he killed was accused of being a pedophile. In the film, there's no on-screen depiction of this killing, though the narrative implies past violence through conversations and Bunting's casual references to bad people and taking care of. This was omitted because we're only really seeing what is from Jamie's point of view.
Yeah.
Jamie wasn't there for this murder, so it was not included.
Yeah. And it makes sense why they didn't show it in the movie, because like you said, Jamie's point of view, he didn't know anything about that at that point. So yeah, I completely get that. John would have to come in. You had to go through a whole backstory with that, with his first killing. And, when you watch the movie, you get that idea that he's done it before. It ain't his first rodeo. So
yeah. I mean, I could make a whole podcast just on this guy and his killings, but I could not. That would be so depressing.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. This is enough for me.
Yeah, the movie didn't even, and the movie doesn't tell you all the victims and all the gruesome, stuff. So, and the movie itself's depressing, so like to actually hear the real things, it's like, damn, I don't know if I want to go there to the real things, holy shit, man. It's like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there were definitely parts where I had to turn the TV off because I was like, I don't know if I can watch this right now.
Yeah.
I'm not emotionally ready for this. It was so fucked up.
Yeah.
And I watch slashers all the time, but knowing that this is real life, these people really endured all of these things even though some things are dramatized and some things are not accurate to what happened, that to some effect, these events happened in some way.
Yeah, and they weren't nice ways either.
The sadistic ways that they tortured it's something else. This isn't vengeance. This isn't getting justice for people. Just you murdering. You
enjoying it too. Like you gotta enjoy that. Yeah.
It was no, it's really fucked up.
It is.
So the next murder was Ray Davies, who was partially depicted. So in the film, we see Davies as a socially awkward figure living in squalor. Bunting, Wagner, and Vlassakis enter his space and dominate him. His death is not shown on screen, only the buildup and the aftermath. So that's like the death that we see his body in the shed. And Jamie's like brought over and he sees the body. And then Bunting also like opens up the barrel and is like, come say hi to Barry.
Yeah.
Barry was in the bucket filled with acid. And it's just like so fucked up.
Yeah.
Jamie's having like a panic attack and he's like, put your hands up over your head. And, the other guy's like, he does have a line. He's like, I knew he wouldn't be able to handle it.
I had to go back and watch that now. I don't remember saying that, but yeah. I mean, that guy's a creep anyways, man. Crazy.
So there was a guy, Thomas. I feel like I don't want to fuck up people's names that are dead. Like that feels really rude, right?
Yeah, well, it's hard. I'm not good at pronouncing names either. You'd probably do a lot better job.
Thomas Trevelyan, but Thomas was admitted. In reality, he was a paranoid schizophrenic, lured to the Adelaide Hills and hanged, and it was staged as a suicide. And they just completely omitted it from the movie. It had nothing to do with Jamie. So, and then there's Gavin Porter was also omitted. He was murdered after accidentally pricking Bunting with a syringe. Okay. So Bunting hates drugs, right? He gets pissed when people are doing drugs. So his character and circumstances are not included. Have the reason why. Then there's Frederick Brooks, who is torture. His torture is implied but sanitized. He was subjected to horrific physical and sexual torture before being killed. Oh, wow. In the film, Brooks' murder is represented by the most grotesque torture details. Sparklers, bleach injections are exploited.
Yeah.
His death is suggested through screams and cutaways rather than explicit visuals. Oh, this is one of the worst ones that they did.
Yeah, I remember the sparkler. I remember hearing about the sparklers and stuff, and I'm like, God dang it, man! What the like? I mean, you got to be a creative son of a bitch to want to, involve sparklers and stuff like that. It just, I mean, I don't know. I could never imagine myself being tortured like some of these people, and and I don't think any type of crime that they've done warrants like a
No.
torture like that, if that makes any sense. They definitely freaking just downplayed a lot of what he did, the type
Yeah.
of torture he did. So yeah, it's
Yeah. I
terrible.
mean, yeah, this movie could have been a fuck ton worse.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's bad, but like, if they put in half the stuff that he really did, on screen, that would have been something different. And I probably wouldn't be able to make it through that movie. There's very few movies that are based on reality like that I probably would have trouble getting through. Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, if they had shown Frederick Brooks's murder and torture, it would have just went straight into exploitation film.
Yeah, and that's not what you want, especially when you're trying to tell a story. Like I love how they told the story. I think the way they did the movie was they showed you a little bit to make you very uncomfortable, but not enough to, like you said, where it was an exploitation type of movie, which was good. You got the point across.
While not everything is true, like I said, it's so close to the truth, and these people who are depicted are real people. It's very hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next person on my list that I have, I'm pretty sure, I don't think my list is all encompassing, but Gary O'Dwyer was omitted as well. And he was targeted for his disability and financial gain. Like, he's not in the film at all. He was part of their circle, but like they collected his social security check and stuff. Like, certain people that they killed, they collected them, like they used them for financial gain as well.
Yeah. So they're not so do-gooders like everybody, like they may have thought they, portrayed themselves to be when they were out there killing people for money and stuff. Yeah, that's something they definitely don't really put into the movie too much. You have to do a lot of research to kind of find out stuff like that, which is crazy.
Yeah. Then there was Elizabeth Hayden. She was depicted indirectly. She was the wife of Mark Hayden, and she was killed for knowing too much. And they do go over that where they're at the table, and Mark talks about how he accidentally let out too much information because she told him, she like basically insulted him.
Yeah.
And his like manlyhood. So he was like, well, I'm going to show you because I murder people. Like, how are you going to question my manhood when I bury dead people? Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, he done messed up, but he done sealed her fate, because when John looked at me, John was kind of like, automatically you knew what her fate was going to be. But, he kind of, hey, it's okay. It's all right. He put him at ease. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's just, I knew right away that girl was dead. She wasn't going to make it in the movie.
No. No. And then we already talked about, so Troy was depicted, we saw how that all went. It was extremely hard to watch. Okay, so David Johnson was depicted. He was Jamie's stepbrother, lured to Snowtown and killed in the old bank building.
That was at the end, wasn't it?
This is one of the more graphically implied killings, as Jamie takes an active role in luring him. Oh, I remember this.
That was at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He lures him there, but he doesn't actually, they don't show it.
Yeah, because he walks into the room and they're all standing there, and Jamie was, I think that was kind of like the beginning of him actually going to be just like John and start killing. I think that's what I kind of got at the end of it, when he came in there and the guy walked in there and everybody was standing. I was like, oh, he's fucked.
Yeah, no, that's when it showed like his full intention to follow through with these crimes and be a part of it 100%.
Yeah, I think about I really do think about like how some of these people suffered, like, man, I mean, it's just crazy, probably hours and maybe even days where they're put through this stuff. And it's like, it's just crazy. Like it just, I don't know.
Overall, there were 11 real life victims. They didn't include them all, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, on the screen, they start going through the case, when they were caught and how many victims there were and things like that. I was able to find some details about how they were actually caught because they don't get into that. So in real life, from 1992 to 1999, John Bunting, Robert Wagner, and Jamie Vlassakis committed a series of murders, primarily targeting people accused of being pedophiles or undesirable. So the film condenses this period. Murders are shown sequentially, but some victims are composites for storytelling purposes. So some of the victims that we see aren't real victims.
Yeah.
Like they cite a lot of different victims in the movie or like people they're going to target, but really it's just them like condensing these different characteristics into like one fictional character. Early 1999, police received complaints about foul odor from a disused bank vault in Snowtown. The film shows police discovering the barrels, emphasizing the shock and horror without graphic detail. Then we have March of 1999. Police investigate the vault and find 8 barrels containing dismembered human remains, and then directly depicts in the film the barrels are a central visual motif. We see them a lot. Basically, like they start investigating, they gather evidence, and then by 2003, trials take place exposing the brutality, grooming, and ideological rationalization Bunting used. We do see the courtroom details at the very end, but we don't know how they got there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it. It's a lot to cover.
I think what I did like about the movie is how they told a big story without telling a lot. I guess if that makes sense. Like there wasn't a lot of the blood and guts. There was a couple of scenes in there, but like the overall movie, you look at it and it just tells this just horrifying story.
It shows a reality that I think a lot of people want to look away from.
Yeah.
And that is important. And I think the storytelling here, the director does a really good job with just depicting the isolation and the hopelessness and how does this happen? A lot of people will say, how does this kind of thing happen? How can people get away with this? Well, this is how.
Yeah, and it shows you it's there's just failures on all sides of it, from going from the mother to the community to the police, and damn, I can't even find something where I was like, oh, okay, well that happened for him was really nice, because when you think something's going to happen, where this guy comes in and sticks up for him, well, that's not, he wants something in return, and we see what that is, and it's just very tragic.
Yeah. It's totally fucked. You don't have to become a murderer and an abuser just because you've lived through these things. So I do have a little game. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we're ending on like a little happier note. All right. So we're going to start with Jamie Lee Curtis and Sigourney Weaver. So which one wins for you?
I would have to say for Scream Queen, probably Jamie Lee. I think Sigourney Weaver is more of a badass type of a person. But Jamie Lee, I think, is the original Scream Queen for sure with Halloween.
I totally get that. She is definitely one of the OGs, and it's really hard to beat Jamie Lee when it comes to this stuff. So our next one's going to be Danielle Harris or Sherry Moon Zombie.
So I would have to say probably Danielle Harris. I love Sherry Moon Zombie, but to me, she's a killer, and most of the stuff that she's done. I think about her like, not just, Halloween, she plays the mom, but like in The Devil's Rejects, I'd be scared of her. Danielle Harris, she's been in, both of the Halloween. She's been in a lot of lower budget horror movies, so I'd have to go with her.
Yeah. For me, a Scream Queen isn't just a victim.
The victim,
Queen can also be a villain.
Gotcha.
That, for me.
Okay.
You can play both. Like the ultimate Scream Queen, for me, can do both.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Well, okay, if that's the case, then I'll go with Sherry Moon then, because I absolutely love
I
her
mean, you don't
character.
have to.
No. I actually like because she's played a victim in like Halloween, how she killed herself, and
All right, so now we've got Mia Goth or Samara Weaving. And one thing I like about Mia Goth too is she's one of those scream queens that she can play the victim and the villain.
yeah, I would go with Mia Goth just for that. I mean, she's played in the three movies that she just did were great, and like you said, playing a victim and a killer, I love it, and how those three movies kind of tied together. Yeah, I can't wait to see what else she comes out with. She's definitely a scream queen.
Yeah, I really want to see where her career takes her.
Oh, most definitely.
So next we've got Sarah Michelle Gellar or Nev Campbell.
I'll go with Nev Campbell. I'm a huge Scream fan, and I've always loved Nev Campbell.
All right, so now we're gonna go between Jamie Lee Curtis or Sherry Moon Zombie.
Ooh, see now it's getting hard. I would probably. That's a good one. I would probably say Sherry Moon just because her versatility and like how she can play such a good victim, but she plays such a badass, like scary bad person too.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis definitely plays a great victim. She's one of the original Scream queens, but like I mean, could she play a villain? I don't know. I just look at her as being this babysitter type person, but I definitely think Sherry Moon Zombie.
She's the ultimate babysitter.
Yeah.
So now we've got Mia Goth or Nev Campbell.
I would say probably Mia Goth. I would have to say, just like I said, the three movies she's done. Again, I love the fact that she can play victim or she can play killer. I think that's really important because you don't get typecasted or stereotyped as just like a helpless lady. I love Nev Campbell, but Mia Goth I think is probably one of the newer, better generation Scream queens.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so now this is a hard one. We've got
Yeah.
Sherry Moon Zombie or we've got Mia Goth. So I mean, they're both in their own right. They're just different generations of Scream Queens, but
They
they're
are.
very similar in their skill set.
I'm gonna go with Mia Goth just because she's newer in the genre. She's newer, and I like to see what she's going to be coming out with next.
Oh,
As much as I love Sherry Moon, but I think I don't know. I think the roles that Mia Goth had were just great. The way they interacted, like with those three storylines and she played these different characters and just the acting in it. I just think she's a good actor, a good actress.
she is. I agree. Nice. So Mia Goth is your ultimate Scream Queen. Thank you so much for talking to me about this movie. I felt bad asking you to cover it because I'm like, oh wow, this is fucked up.
No, you're good. I love talking to you. I love talking about this movie. I think you're just so well prepared, and I really enjoyed it. I really had a good time talking to you.
I really appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing Night Shift.
Then I will, as soon as I get some information, I will keep you in the loop. I will pass it on to you, and maybe one day we'll be talking about maybe we'll do a review of that one day. That'd be great. You never know, right?
Yes, for sure.
Let's end on a high note. Weekly Horror Update. I was chosen to be a participant in the Face of Halloween Challenge, which starts Monday, August 25th. I'm super excited. The prizes are like a chance to be in Roomwork magazine, meet Jamie Lee Curtis, Matthew Lillard, and Kane Hodder, and $13,000, which definitely doesn't hurt. I will be sharing that like every day on my socials, different clips and things and ways to vote for me daily. I really hope I win this. The biggest prize I'm looking forward to is honestly the Roomwork magazine. And if I was to win the $13,000, I'm gonna go fucking ham on horror memorabilia. That money will be like all for getting different like masks and costumes and just supporting the horror community in general. I would really like to travel to conventions. That money would be put aside just for supporting horror and the horror community any way I can. There's a new Halloween game. It's a single and multiplayer stealth video game that's going to be released next year. They have a trailer out for it right now. It looks super creepy. I think this is going to be the year I get back into video games, you guys. Like between the Halloween video game and the Hellraiser video game, I really think I need to start picking up the controller again. I started watching the new Aliens Earth show that's on Hulu. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but on episode 3, I am a little confused on what's happening, and I'm not sure where they're going to take it or if I'm going to like where it goes. I have not decided if I officially like the show or not. We'll see. The new Hell House LLC Lineage is now in theaters. I don't know if I necessarily need to see it in the theaters. I kind of feel like on a stormy night in my living room alone with the lights off is the best way to see this one. It's just so eerie and creepy, all of these movies. I am hearing good things, but I'm also right now looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and it has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which is not looking good, you guys. That doesn't sound great. So another podcast that covers the Snowtown murders, or Bodies in Barrels murders, is Last Podcast on the Left. They do, I think it's either a 2 or a 3-part series on this case. They get into the nitty gritty with every single, murder and what exactly went into it. I did not. This is just one episode. I based it off the movie, and I did get into what is real versus what was a composite of different things that happened, just for comparison. I did not give it the same kind of highlight that Last Podcast did. This is an extremely fucked up case, so definitely, be aware of that. But I think they do a really good job covering it in depth and then adding humor throughout. I apologize for being late on this episode. It's coming out a day late. I'm publishing it later in the day. I've just been exhausted. I can't even explain how exhausted I've been with everything that I'm juggling at once. And I'm keeping this a weekly podcast, and I've been recording ahead of time for some things. So I think from here on out, it's going to be a little easier for me. I will say this month, doing horror movies that are based on true crime cases, it's a lot more research intensive for me because I have to delve into the real cases and figure out, what's being depicted on screen versus the reality of the case. So that just takes a lot more work. And so this month has definitely, for all those people who are trying to be factual and everything, I try. I don't know if I always get the facts right, but I put a lot of research and work into this. So hopefully that shows. This is a weekly podcast with episodes out every Thursday. All the research, writing, and audio is done by yours truly. This is a one-woman show, and I'm doing my very best. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. It really, really, really means a lot. If you can follow me on Amazon Music, their app, if you have that app, that would be awesome. That helps. It doesn't show me how many people are following me. I really don't know, but that's the only option they have on there. If you go to currently on Apple Podcasts, I'm sitting at a 4.5 out of 5 with 8 ratings. So I need more ratings, you guys. If you're listening out there, I need your fucking help. I need you to go in these apps and I need you to give me whatever rating you think seems fit, preferably 5 stars, please. But I can't really tell you what to put for me, but just do it. Just do it. Just go give me a rating. If you are on Spotify, right now I've got 20 ratings on there with a 4.8 rating. If you could just help me on there as well, go forth and spread and do all the things to help me grow. I can't do it without you guys. Literally, I can't. I need your help. I say that with desperation in my voice. I don't know if you can hear how desperate I am. You can find me on Instagram at Scream Queen Podcaster, Blue Sky at Scream Queen Podcast, TikTok at Scream Queen Podcast. And there's a link tree that will send you to my YouTube and Facebook page as well. Remember, if you want to kill a sexual predator, make sure you have the victim with you. Also, don't listen to any of my advice that I've given on this episode. I'm pretty sure I cannot be held liable for anything I've said here. but don't do those things. Don't do anything that's been done here at all. This is an example of what not to be, what not to do. Don't do this shit. Until next time, bye.